Hello and welcome to the Armchair Ginger. This is what happens when my wife leaves me by myself for a few hours. I just create a new YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing a design analysis, an automotive design analysis. And so the way it works is I'm going to pull out my cell phone, open up the news app, go to the car page, and choose one of the vehicles on that list to do a design analysis on. So should be fun, or it's going to be boring. All right, we got some stories here. Take a spin in a 67 Volkswagen Samba Microbus Deluxe. Scrolling. We've got a Panamera here, an M3 Spide. Nissan 400Z reportedly not coming till 2023. Come on. Continuing on. Volkswagen ID.4 ordering starts immediately following September debut. So this is one that's apparently coming out soon. Let's check it out. Alright, what do we have here? Where are the photos? That's kind of lame. I tell you what though, I think it would be fun to do the ID.4. So let's just look up some images and get to work on analyzing it. Alright, so what we have here is the illustration that was in that article. I think it's one that, maybe Volkswagen released recently. As far as us being able to use this for a design analysis, not so much. They did also release this side view profile, which is actually a lot more helpful. And we can see that it's helpful. It's fairly reflective of the production vehicle. And we can tell that because of this sort of camo one that they released at an auto show. You can see that the two are, man, they're almost dead ringers. And then right here is the front of one of the quote-unquote concepts, and it's also very reflective of the production vehicle. There have been a lot of spy shots of these things, including some that have been camouflage free. I'm not going to use those in this video, but just this actually is very useful for what we need it for. So here's the rear. The first thing we'll talk about are proportions. All right, so this is a classic sort of two-box design. And if you're not familiar with that terminology, I'll just kind of show you what I mean. I'll put up a layer here. So, two-box design. And all that means is we have one box here. And then I think you know where this is going. And another box there. Alright, so classic two-box design. And a sedan is like a three-box design. And so instead of having, one box here, two box here, it's going to have, a separate trunk, which creates a third box. 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. We can look at the proportions in terms of certain little, visual tricks. So for instance, this window line here, this is called the A-pillar. And for non-sporty type vehicles, conventional ones, usually that'll end up somewhere around the lower lip. In sort of conventional designs, we can see the edge of the window frame here, and it's not, that far away from where the edge of the wheel well is. So it's a very conventionally sized front end here, but here in the back, it's a bit low here. As far as the distance between those two things, the tail end actually swoops down quite a bit. Ooh, I don't know how to do that little zigzag thing, but I'll go ahead and keep it. You can actually see the edge of the window line here, so it actually gets really kind of tight in this area. Something else that I noticed proportion-wise is that the front end has a very short overhang, and actually the same could be said for the rear. There's really nothing that gives you that wow factor, but it's fine. Okay, before we give it a final proportion score, let's look at the other views just to see how those are. And we can see here that this part right here looks overly thick to me. It's a little bit chubby in some areas. I'd like to see a little more of an edge, a little thinner or more interesting in certain other parts. But overall, I think the proportions are looking pretty good there. So in this rear view, I'm not really seeing anything that is too much of a surprise. Everything looks pretty expected. Obviously some of these are still a little off, a little chunky, but not too bad. Nothing really surprising. And so for the proportions, now we have to introduce our scoring system, which are in beards. How many red beards does this car get on proportions? And it's going to get 3.5 red beards. Look at this beard. Is that a nice beard? Alright, so moving on, we're going to look at line flow. And you know, this kind of has to do with how the lines are resolved and how some of the edges are finished. Let's go back to the side view, see what we have there. This view is going to be a little more helpful than this one when it comes to line flow. It appears that I accidentally drew actually on this, so we're just going to ignore that for now. So some key lines. This is nice here. This which sort of demarcates the lower part of the belt line. I like how it finishes off in this little part right here. I don't know if that's like chrome or a light bar or what, but what's nice to me is that whenever, you know, so we can't really see it continuing in this area, but if we were to continue that line, it would actually connect right to the corner of that headlight. And then if we switch over to the front view, we can see right here, that's where that corner is. It continues on into the LED strip. And by the way, these I think right in here, these pieces right here, I think those are LED strips also. I don't think they're chrome, maybe they are chrome, but anyway, I really like how, you know, at least the side and the front, you have this continuation of that line. And then if we check out the rear, we can see that indeed the line continues over the taillights, and they've cleverly done something here to where you see this edge right along here. That's called a chamfer. It's like this finished edge, and so this line here just directly turns into this nice little chamfer that goes across the top of the taillights. That's a really nice detail. And so that's something that when it comes to automotive design, you're really looking for. How do the lines flow across the vehicle? Can you continue lines from one place to another? Let's go back to the side again. So we got this nice key line here, but we actually have another one right here at the bottom, which continues up over here. And actually you have a flat line, so there's like it's kind of an interesting play right there. And then it continues in the front here, and let's actually go to the front and check that out, and we can see that the line goes up. And so that piece appears to wrap around the body, but we can't declare that until we know for sure. Checking out the rear here, the line actually, well, in a sense, it sort of gets absorbed into this rear graphic. So, I mean, you could say that the line does this, because that physically is happening, but visually the way that it appears is that the line just goes and stops right here. There's like a hard stop, and I really don't care for that myself. So that actually is not a great thing. Another issue with line flow, or how they finished off the lines, is this top line is generally nice around the vehicle until it gets up here. And then, you know, so this strip right here, as we can see in the production model, will be like a chrome type finish. So it's going to be, you know, you'll have the main body color, then you have these sort of metal type strips, and then black here. So they're broken up into these different tones or different colors. But as far as the pieces themselves, there's like a little corner right there, and then, you know, this piece sort of does that, and then this kind of whips down along here, but it's not even really that smooth in this area. It's weird. It's actually just a really weird shaped piece. It's too convoluted, it's too complex. And so really in the rear, as far as line flow, that's where I'm finding the issues. Just kind of in this area, and then right up here is just a total mess, in my opinion. So when it comes to line flow, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4.5. So 4.5 red beards. Alright, so let's head back over to the side view, and we'll talk graphics. From the side, they have some interesting things going on, you know, so that they've got this dark portion up here, which is contrasted with this sort of lighter metallic portion, and you've got the body color. So that's pretty interesting in just highlighting the different structural elements. And they've got this nice little graphic here, which tends to visually elongate this section. They also have, you know, some nice emphases on the wheel wells with these black sort of rubberized pieces, and this is a nice little shape right in there. That's actually really cool. Yeah, I like how, you know, you have this good arch right there, and I feel like sort of the way that the body is broken up with the different elements is really nice from the side. I don't really have any complaints as far as the graphics on the side profile. So let's move on to the front, which is usually more important when it comes to graphic design on a vehicle. As far as this is concerned, I do like how they have the nice graphic elements for the headlights. This is a good shape, and it's not too complex, but it's not boring either. I love the LED graphics that they have in the front. I think I mentioned that before, which, you know, ties into that nice line that cuts across the entire side of the body. And so that's pretty nice. I like also how you see this little crease right there. Well, that feeds into this line. I mean, you can actually see it a little better on this one, but you see how you have this line, this little crease right here, and then it feeds into this line. That's a nice surface detail, and I think it's actually pretty cool. Something that I'm less keen on graphically is, I guess, really like the height of these vents. These actually are vents. Obviously, it doesn't have, this is an electric vehicle, so it doesn't have an engine in the front. It's, you know, it has this like battery skateboard, but they're functional in that they allow air to get sort of caught along the front, drawn in this way, and then it creates an air curtain inside of the wheel well, which can help improve economy. And so that's a good thing. It's just the size of them. It just seems a little too high, and what ends up happening here, actually maybe I will flip to this design here. What ends up happening is they, you know, so because of how high they come up, you've got this line that sweeps off of the front, and you end up with this like really thin edge that comes all the way across the front, and to me it really weakens that area of the design. I really feel like it needs to be thicker. Something else I was thinking about is you have some decent structural elements in here. If they were thicker, then they would provide some visual support, but it's kind of papery the way it is right now. So something that I would have rather they had done, I'd rather them to have brought some of this body color down, and so you'd end up with this, you know, this nice shape that continues around that way, and would have framed the face up a little better, would have given a little more support to the front, rather than it being like these thin sort of pieces that you feel like are going to just tear whenever it hits 70 miles an hour. That's sort of a graphic element they could have done with. That would have helped a bit, you know, just bringing this down a little bit and sort of thickening that area. To me, that would have helped as far as adding sort of a strength to the front. Let's switch over to the back, check out the graphics there. And the graphics here in the rear are pretty good overall. Like I said before, so there are line flow issues in here, which, you know, you could also consider graphic elements if you're thinking about the spaces. So I'm not keen on that at all, but generally speaking, I mean, these taillights are great. I love the nice dark elements here, and these very Audi like LEDs in the back in this super thin line that stretches across the rear. That graphically, that really makes it look wide and adds a little bit of a sporty flair to it. So that's a really smart thing overall. I have no idea what's going on here with this little glint. That is the cheesiest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, continuing on. So here, you know, so we talked about how this is kind of a weird decision in here, and it's a weird graphic decision for the most part. It doesn't make sense to have these thin wings. It looks so weak, and then you end up with this area that's this big sort of black void. And I realize that, you know, you're gonna have a license plate here, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me whenever they have a lot of careful finishing, these sort of luxurious taillights, and then just this huge black surface right here. Maybe it'll look alright in the production vehicle, but I think it's a really bizarre graphic decision. Something else I do like graphically is how this taillight line here wraps into this, well, what we would call a fuel filler door. I guess that's where you open it up and then plug it in to charge. But that's a nice graphic element. They thought about where to place it and how to shape it in relation to the other shapes around it. So that's pretty cool. I'm also noticing here that this shape right here swoops down into the top of the bumper line. You see that? And then it's sort of reflected in this graphic here. And so that's nice. I like how they sort of echo each other. The handles are nicely placed within their respective graphic elements. I do like the wing mirrors as well. So overall, I would say that the graphic design on the ID.4 is about a 4. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I actually like it. So it's going to be 4 red beards. All right, so we'll go ahead and clear this off. And our next category is theming. So what I see here are some very consistent themes where we have these sort of these nice crisp lines everywhere. We've got some nice crispness, but then you have some very sort of calculated radiuses or radii, I suppose. So just some nice edges. Everything's sort of clean. This is a nice crisp line here. This is very Audi. The way that this line incorporates, especially like you can see in some of the spy vehicles, it's a little more crisp than it appears in this image. And in fact, it really just this whole area is very Audi-ish. So as far as the theming, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing to complain about. I don't see anything that breaks the theming of the certain shapes that we have and the edges, and I mean, yeah, it's like 100%. So the theming, we're gonna give 5 red beards to that. Oh, that's a crazy beard. So our last category is freshness, and this one doesn't really require any lines. So what this category has to do with is how fresh is the overall design within its category. And so this is sort of a compact SUV. It's all electric. Looking at the other vehicles in its class, like the Tesla Y, considering recent designs from other SUVs, that I think overall, I don't think it really deserves to have a super high freshness score. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 3 red beards for freshness. All right. So now the only thing that is left to do is tally up our results and see how the ID.4 fared. And we end up with a score of 4.0 even. So 4 red beards, which I would consider that very good. So I think it's a well-styled vehicle. I think they did a good job. Some strengths, some weaknesses, but it's like that with pretty much every sort of vehicle. All right, so that is my design analysis of the Volkswagen ID.4. If you liked this sort of video, then please give me that thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to know immediately after I post new videos, then click that bell notification as well. All right, thanks for spending this time with me. See ya.